What's up everyone? Welcome back to the workshop. I know I said we're just building a box around this horn assembly, but it seems like it is a bit more complicated than that. So here's my process. Because I've foregone the recessed dado channels, these side pieces will be 44.6 centimeters tall by 42 centimeters wide. We'll cut holes in the center of each of these for a Penn Elcom H1105 handle, which needs a hole that's about 11.7 centimeters by 17.6 centimeters. I've done a more detailed video on adding Penn Elcom handles in the past, and I'll link to that, but I'll narrate while I time-lapse. I'll make the initial cutout and position my handle and screw it into place. Once it's secured, I have a router template that I position and I use spacer blocks, and once I screw this down, I'll remove the handle and I'll route out the recess. I'm going deep enough so that no screws will stick out beyond the edge of the wood. I'll drop the handle into place to confirm, and while I didn't video this, I slightly rounded over the edges with some sandpaper. We got our side piece done, so let's move to the rear. The official plans have this piece CNC'd out of a single piece of wood, but I've chosen to assemble this with strips of wood. You can match this up to the actual size of your horn assembly, but it should be about 72.6 centimeters wide by 44.6 centimeters tall. The horizontal top and bottom pieces are 5.5 centimeters wide, and the vertical side pieces are 4 centimeters. There is also a central column, which is 15.4 centimeters wide. I glued these strips of wood together, and now I'll add a center strip of wood that's 44.6 centimeters tall by 7.5 centimeters wide. I'm only going to add one speak-on jack to the back, and I'll do this centered around 6.5 centimeters from the bottom. I drilled a small pilot hole at this location because I'm going to need to make 2 different diameter holes for the speak-on jack. I'll drill out this larger hole, which is about a 2-inch diameter. The smaller hole in the back of the access panel frame is about 1¼ inches. Double check your fit afterwards. And I did a 1/4 inch round over on this exterior central strip of wood, but that's optional. And I glued it into place. I just used wood glue and I held everything secure with weights. It's time to glue the horn assembly to the bottom panel. And so with everything in place, I'm gonna mark a line where the edges meet, and I'm gonna use this as a reference. Now I can drill a small pilot hole from the interior to the exterior and know where it's gonna match up with these pieces. It's really, if you're looking at the exterior of a large piece of wood, it's really hard to know where if you're going to be able to hit those pieces on the inside. So I'll start from the inside, I'll drill to the outside. That's a pilot hole. I'll know where to ultimately put screws. You'll notice I painted the interior of the top and bottom panels white, and that's really just to help with general weatherproofing, but it's totally optional. No one's ever going to see this. And we're going to glue the horn in place. Every joint gets a full bead of adhesive. I'm using PL Premium. I cut these top and bottom panels true to depth, which is 42 centimeters, but I did leave them slightly wider than the final 75 centimeter dimension we need. I do this so that I can ultimately use a flush trim router bit and route everything to its final dimension. I'll dry fit the side panels in place to make sure everything's okay, and I clamp where it's necessary. And I add screws to my pilot holes that I drilled in the bottom plate earlier. I apologize, I didn't do much documentation of the brace pieces on the interior of the side panel. I had made this template when I made my first speaker, and I wasn't really documenting that. But ultimately, I really feel like this interior brace on either side is just to add some extra wood for the screw handles to bite into. If the curved edges are intimidating you, don't let them. Ultimately, you're gonna end up with 2 rectangles. This is what the final piece looked like, but if you can ignore these. You want an outer rectangle that's 44.6 centimeters tall by 36.4 centimeters wide. And then there's this interior rectangle here that's 18.6 centimeters tall by 24.6 centimeters wide. I'll do a central cutout in this as well, which matches up with our side panels. I'll attach this interior brace to the side panel before I actually install it into the cabinet. And after the adhesive cures, I add 18 gauge finishing nails. I don't like to rely entirely just on adhesive. I like some kind of mechanical fastener. I use some screws where appropriate on the top and bottom. And then for these side panels, I'm using between 5 and 6 18 gauge finishing nails per joint. I also didn't get a video of me making this other internal brace, but it's pretty straightforward. Here are the measurements that I used, and I just freehanded this on the bandsaw, and I secured it into place with wood glue. I decided to get a head start painting some of these areas where it's difficult for me to roll anyways. I'm using Duratex paint, and I can get a decent textured finish by using a paintbrush and tapping it. You can't just spread it like normal paint. If I tap it on like this, like Bob Ross, you gotta tap it. And that gives a nice texture. And I'm doing this in the rear behind the access panels. No one's ever gonna see this part of the speaker. I'm not stressing this too much. I'm using Bondo spot glazing putty to fill the nail and screw holes. The finishing nails really only take one coat, but sometimes the screws will take two. If you're doing a textured paint finish, you don't need to be too thorough with this. And if you're planning to do a raw wood or a wood stain finish, I would look into an alternative filler product because this one, when you sand it, it almost stains the wood with this red tint. And onto the access panels. There's a very generous mating surface where these rear panels meet. So you can be a little flexible with the sizing of these panels. Mine might be a little undersized from what the CNC plans are. There'll be 8 bolt holes, so I'll position the panel in place and I drill pilot holes. You could use screws here, but I like to do threaded inserts. So once the rear panel's in place, it's an extremely tight fit for this compression driver. You can see here that the bolts that actually ship with the DCX464 are a little too long to fit the driver in place. You can see here that the bolts that ship with the DCX464 are a little too long to fit the driver in place. And because of this, I'm going to install this driver before attaching the rear panel. I'll use the bolts provided with the driver for the top and bottom, but if you try to use these same bolts that they provide on the side, it might get in the way of your 12-inch drivers when you're trying to mount these. For the side bolts, I'm using these. They've got the same thread. It's just a hex head cap, and they're about, 10 millimeters, and these fit perfect. And they'll leave you enough room so that you can mount your 12-inch drivers on the side. I'll cover the driver to keep it protected for the remainder of this build. And on the inside of the horn, I just stuffed it with a paper towel so nothing gets into the driver. Now I'm adding the rear access panel and side panel. There's nothing too interesting here, just gluing all the mating surfaces. And it's time to seal it all up. I traced a line where my panels will go, and I drilled some pilot holes as I did before. Every surface gets PL Premium, and I dropped the panel on. I also didn't get a video of me making this one internal brace, but I think if you've gotten this far, I believe that you can do this one as well. It's basically, start with a 10 by 10 centimeter square. Draw a 45-degree angle line from the corner and mark that at 4.9 centimeters, and then connect that to the point that's 2 centimeters from the top and the bottom side, and glue this to the top center. And it's really just finishing work now. Sanding all the wood filler, I'm routing the top and the bottom panels that were slightly oversized. I'm routing them flush. And then I add a 1/4 inch round over. I think it has a nice look to it, and I do think it improves the durability of these cabinets. There's no hard angles for anything to get caught on. And I don't know if you noticed, but while I'm doing this routing, I've installed the handles and the rear panels. When I'm routing, it makes a lot of sawdust. I'm trying to minimize the amount of sawdust that's actually going to get inside of this cabinet. It's okay if it does, you can just vacuum it out, but if I close it all up, there's a lot less to deal with later. Once it's all glued together, I'll spray a final coat of paint on the interior of the horn, and I'll tap these interior edges on the rear. I'll tap those with a paintbrush. And then I've done a more detailed video on painting with Duratex, which I'll try to link here. But it's going to take at least 2 coats with a textured roller. And I think what's important is I'm barely using any pressure. I'm just rolling this across the surface and letting the paint come off of the textured roller. It really helps having some glancing light, so if you can see if the sheen is looking uneven. If it is looking inconsistent, it's probably not gonna get any better as it dries. Your best bet is to go and fix it with a second coat. I recommend not overworking Duratex paint. If you go back and try to roll it too many times trying to get the perfect finish, you're gonna end up creating more of a sandpaper texture than the orange peel texture that I'm looking for. And this ended up being a longer and more complicated video than I was anticipating. So I think I'll save wiring and testing for the next video. It is complete though. Let me show you over here. I do have mine finished, and I've wired it up and I've given it a listen, and everything is good to go. And we're gonna cover all the rest of the finishing steps in the next video.